We've got two co-hosts this week, which is really exciting, but they are both under P22. So they're the P22 studio, P22 type Foundry. And so we've got Richard Kegler and James Grieshaber, and they are going to be our tour guides and show us around their space. We're really glad that we get to see your space. That's really exciting. We're really excited because P22 is our digital type partner. So here at Hamilton, we don't make digital type, but we have a wonderful partner in P22 in that we can both take our historic vintage designs that were from Hamilton, and we can also partner with contemporary type designers and make those available. And so I'm gonna put into the chat their website and their Instagram. So if you haven't checked them out, it's gonna be really easy and you can go there. I will also let everyone know that this is being recorded. So that's our friendly reminder that by being here, you're letting us record you, and we will share these later. And also that you guys are in Rochester, New York. It's always a nice thing to know where we're getting a peek around. So I will hand it over and you guys can wave and introduce any more and then let us know what we're seeing. I will do some spotlighting tonight because we have 3 cameras that are going to be showing us around. And so as Richard and James move around, I'll be doing a little bit of the directing from behind the scenes. So thanks for joining us.
All right. Hi, I'm Richard. Well, there's James. Okay. So, so I guess we'll walk around the studio a little bit, show you some of the studio, and then show you a couple projects. So this is our press room, and you can see we've got our aspirational wall of type, and most of this came from a printing company in Buffalo called Pollock Poster Printing, and they closed up, and their entire city block of a building was being demolished, and an antique dealer bought all of their type. So he was selling it as antiques. These Cooper Blacks were made into a frame for a giant mirror, and so he made sculpture out of the wood type. He cut it up. I'll take you over and show you another thing that he worked on. A cube made of beautiful Gothic type. That is, it's a beautiful object, but it's really kind of sad because it's no longer usable as wood type. So as this antique dealer was moving out of his space after 15 years of selling and cutting this stuff up, we bought out the remnants of it. So a lot of this we can fit on our press, but we have some type that's, Jim, you point over there. The big number 5 is a one that won't fit on our press, but we'll bring it with us to Hamilton next time, and we can print it on some of your presses. So, so the building we're in, it used to be a bank. So you can see we've got water fountains, and this is going to the offices. This is Jim's branch manager office. So Jim and I work out of Rochester, and P22 has a third partner in Canada, Patrick Griffin, Canada Type. So I'm representing with the Canada Type t-shirt. This isn't exactly a steady cam. So anyway, try to get a sense of the place. We have a lot of typographic artifacts, a phototypositor, and we have about 800 fonts on film. And our library, which is most of what you see here, is phototype, more contemporary. And then the next bank over, we've got our specimens. Got a get a nice angle here. Here, you can kind of, there, you can see everything at once. All right, you can ask questions about it later. In normal times, it would say, hey, come on over and go through our library, but we can't say that now. So the shelf with glass on the doors, that means those are the nice books. Can't touch those.
Like the couch with the cover on it.
Exactly. and just odds and ends. So there, you get to see the whole library. And then going into our shipping room, which is in the bank. I think this is where they kept the explosive packs of red dye. And the bank got held up. They can recharge them in here. So we do our shipping out of here. We have our merchandise, and as part of the introduction, our main business is a digital type foundry. So we actually are making fonts and have made fonts for 25 years, digital. We've little by little been going back into the analog world, and obviously partnering with Hamilton and acquiring that collection of giant wood type has been kind of fantastic. One thing we can't show you is it is a bank. I might be able to show you here before I cut out, but we have our vault. If I would get too close to the vault, I'll probably cut out, but it's a giant walk-in vault. And I think Stephanie can share a link with you that shows our current exhibit in the vault. And that, I guess, is related to the first project that we'll show you, which is the book on Bruce Leisher and Independent Project Press. And this is a book that's occupied 2 years of Jim's time, basically.
You want me to talk about it now?
Yeah, and I'm going to hand it over to Jim to
I'm going to unmute, so give me a sec.
Yeah, so Jim's
I'm unmuting.
Ooh,
and yeah, that's why I announced myself.
Okay.
And now
I'll mute myself now.
Okay, now I'm totally unmuted. Okay, so we designed a book about, or we actually created a book about Bruce Leisher and his independent project records. And this is the whole thing. This is the deluxe edition. I'm going to show it off in its entirety. This here is the slipcase we made for it, which is really a wrap because it's open on both ends. And we actually printed this part of the cover with his guidance using his original cuts that he made for his own record albums and things. Like this is a cut he made in the 80s. And this is a cut of the building he worked in the 80s called the Nate Starkman and Sons building. And he sent us his cuts. And then he also composed all of his type. And he likes to do this layering effects. So he sent us Photoshop files, and we made zinc plates so we could equate his work with ornaments and rule. This being like, I believe, the black plate and the gold plate and the white plate. He likes to underprint white under everything because he likes to print on chipboard. And then he likes to underprint black and overprint silver. So we approximated his design here. So in the slipcase, you get the book, which we've spent a long time designing, a couple of years. And it also, in the deluxe edition, comes with a record album, 12-inch record album, which I will show you in a sec. This is the book. He likes gold, or he likes metallics a lot, so he had to include gold on the cover. And then, of course, he had to gild the edges. And we have a little Easter egg in this thing. I'm going to move a little thing here so I can show you. A little trick we built into the book. We did some 4-edge printing. So underneath the gilding, if I can do this right for the camera, you can read Independent Project Records and Press. And if you flip it the other way, it's white.
Yeah.
And then this is the deluxe edition, and he really likes to make stamps and perforate them with a Rosback printer. So he made commemorative stamp sheet that goes with the book. And then, of course, it's signed and numbered, crash numbered there. This is my personal book, book 3. And then in the back, he had to make a book plate, signed, crash numbered, and of course, Rosback perforated. So those are some of the nice touches that go in the book. And then, of course, it's just pages and pages of all of his work. So if you don't know Bruce Leisure, he started printing letterpress in the very early 80s, and primarily as a means for his, to make an album cover for his band Savage Republic. These are some of the album covers. And that kind of took off from there. He has this aesthetic where he likes to use things that are a little degraded, you know, by means of mechanical, like photocopy or overuse, and even fax machine back in those days. He was always enamored with stamps, so he made all kinds of stamps for himself and for his bands. And I won't get into all that. And then also, the book, the deluxe book, comes with a record album, which Bruce produced this all himself in Bishop, California. So he printed all this, and he has, like I said, he likes to use odd bits of industrial stuff. And if you look very closely at this, you'll notice it's all of this ornament is really backs of linotype, I believe. So he built it all up and built the lettering and the ornament from the backs.
That's great.
Within this too, I mean, everything's special and everything's gold. So it comes with a little liner note, and of course the album is pressed on gold vinyl.
How can I get one of these records?
You should ask that. So the deluxe edition, unfortunately, is sold out, but it kind of isn't really. We have a few of them left, so we actually just turned it back on our site if anybody's interested in getting a deluxe edition. It'll be available for tonight only. But there's also the book by itself available, and we actually made up another edition we call the Faux Deluxe edition, which has the non-gold record album with the book.
So that link I just shared is where people could get those if they were interested in seeing it and owning it for themselves. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
So
It's stunning.
we did a Kickstarter to start it, and I think we predicted it would take us a year, and it took us 2 to get it done. Lots of delays in kind of getting all of this work together. I didn't flip through the book, but it's 240 pages of all of Bruce's work from pre-80s, actually, when he started in school, and all the way up through like last week, so to speak. But yeah, by the time we put the book out, we added a couple of pictures in that were brand new that he was still making. So so yeah, it's his whole career. It's lots and lots of stuff. It's very music and stamp related, but there are other things that he's done over the years, other graphic design, and yeah, it's a very interesting saga, a very interesting arc. I think we're shooting it over to Rick.
Yeah, okay, double microphone echo. We can definitely take questions as we move along, or get through our tour and show you a couple more projects. But Jim mentioned the Rosbach perforator. This is our Rosbach perforator, and if you know the machine, you'll know this one's not really put together. I had to take it apart. There's been a few people I know who have them. It's been really difficult to find replacement pins, and I've just sourced out some pins, so hopefully they will arrive soon, and I can share that information if those pins work out, if anybody has a Rosbach perforator and needs replacement pins. This may sound like a sales pitch, so I guess it is, because we bought a whole bunch of them, because you couldn't just buy a few, so we've got hundreds coming. Hopefully they'll work. So we're going to switch to another project, and that is related to the actual collaboration with Hamilton Printing Museum and the Hamilton Wood Type Collection. So we've digitized, how many fonts, Stephanie? I don't know.
I think it's up to
About 20.
25. Yeah, I was
Okay.
going to say it's up in the 20s.
So in Jim's iPhone shot, you can see the pages from the book. So this is a project that started in January 2017. That Van Lanen type was, I think, the first page printed at Hamilton. So this is printed at 6 different locations, and with a lot of different colors. And it's basically all of the new type designs that have been featured, that we've released. The Van Lanen, Brilski, Mardell, all of these brand new designs, as well as the revivals of the historic designs. So the title page, I think this one's, well, it's a make ready, but you get an idea of the title page. It's just about finished. And again, a project that's taken now over 3 years. Wasn't a priority, I guess, but the type, it finally all came together. So all the types that we've digitized, we've sourced out the original wood type versions, and it's all letterpress. The text is set by the Bixlers. It's Bell monotype set. And there will be some photopolymer, which just arrived today. I was considering setting it up and printing it for this, but I thought, yeah, add to the things that can go wrong. So there is a photopolymer page of a very dense page of, hold on a second, 1-line showings of the digital versions of those same fonts. And some fairly so this is the table of contents for the book. And as Jim just pulled out the dummy mock-up, which is blank, and that is pretty much what it'll look like. Haven't really pre-advertised it and pre-promised it. I think we learned a lesson. The end pages are actually going to be, here, let's see, make-ready sheets. So every bit of ink that was used in the printing of this book, rather than clean up the presses with rags, the paper's been fed through. And so some of them are kind of really nice on their own. So these are the end papers, layered maybe up to 6 times, using the same paper, and kind of fun stuff. So there, you can ask questions about that, but that's the wood type specimen book project. Now, what else were we going to talk about? Oh yeah, another sneak preview, a couple sneak previews. We did offer some cloister initials that Greg Walters had cast, and he had sold some, and we talked about reselling them, which we did. So we offered those up, but we're also in the process of making handy packs of the type ornaments from Michael and Winifred Bixler. These aren't quite ready to go, but just like the cloister initials, we are offering the digital versions of the fonts. So if you buy the metal type, you get to download the digital fonts, because we know how to make digital fonts, I think. And this is the selection of ornaments that the Bixler selections will be. So each pack has a quantity of 2 or 3 of these particular designs, and then so the digital font will have all of those in it. I think there's 5 different packs right now. 6, but again, had some production issues due to unforeseen global pandemics. Oh, I just walked into a stool. Oh, that's going to be recorded. Damn.
Don't worry, we were on James's phone.
So there's the Bixler type, and then maybe one last sneak preview of a top secret project that I'm going to put down here. So about the P22 blocks, and what could be better than P22 blocks than a Rubik's Cube that doesn't actually have a solution. But what it does have is the ability to make every single letter of not only the Latin alphabet, but the Cyrillic and Greek without accents. But yeah, so you can do a 3x3 grid of the same concept of using the P22 blocks in this. nifty throwback toy that everybody loves, and everybody's going to need one of these because, yes, in this global pandemic, we decided we needed to make a Rubik's Cube thing. So I worked up the first version, and then Jim took a stab at it and made it work even better. So his version, which you'll see on the other screen, again, so I think it's gone through its beta testing, and we are going to go into production. So these make a lovely gift. And you might even be able to get them in the Hamilton gift shop if all goes well. So anyway, did we show everything? We can show you some other things.
A lot of stuff. Unmute myself.
Okay, I'll go further away so we don't echo when you're unmuted.
Yeah, we showed a lot of stuff. I think we can take questions if anybody's has any.
Yeah.
Am I muted? I think I'm muted.
No, you're not muted, and neither are you, Rich. That was awesome. Thank you for showing us around. I feel like everything was a sneak peek. I feel like we got to see all the special things today.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, those. Oh yeah, I just walked by another sneak peek. Because yeah, you want to see stuff, right? I guess. So again, part of the collection have culled all the best ampersands, and I kind of like printing on top, layering. Whoops, what did I just do? Okay, so there's two editions. One's on French paper, brown stock, and another's on the boxcar flurry paper. And so it's ampersand upon ampersand, or as somebody described it as a ampersand sandwich. So, and one of the things we learned from doing the sleeve for the Bruce Leisher project was that to get a really good gold popping, if you put a black layer down underneath, you get extra pop. And so I'm kind of interested in seeing how these layers, the more you layer, the more, basically every ampersand, you can see all of the contours, even though they're covered up with the ink, you still see it through a variety of reflections. So anyway, those all seem like sales pitches because they kind of are. We do need to sell this stuff too. So, all right, I'm gonna put my speaker back on. Let's take some questions.
David Wolski wants to know who will be binding the P22 Hamilton specimen book.
So I did a lot of bookbinding before I ever did any type design, and I did letterpress printing. But my only apprehension about binding is that I actually have arthritic hands. I think I may have convinced Carrie Valenzuela to help with some of the binding. But yeah, they're going to be case bound. I don't have. I've got some. Oh, I'm walking by a different project that's case bound. So this is the deluxe version of the Aries Press book. So similar binding, tapes, binding on tapes, probably similar thickness, but a larger book. And yeah, the casing in is going to be a little more tricky because I only have one book press here, but I'll probably do the sewing here, and it's going to start fairly soon. This is the only press I have on premises. I was hoping to work as a guest binder at Wells College. Let's see how my connections there work out. But again, because of the way things are going with this global pandemic issue, we can't really go in there or count on going in there. So once I have enough bound to offer, I don't believe I'm going to take any pre-orders. And when it's ready, I will let people know. So how's that sound?
Sweet. I'm sure we will be happy to let people know too.
Great.
And I will let everyone know this is a good time. We do get a little informal in our Hamilton hangs, and that if you have questions, you can put it in the chat. I'm happy to ask it for you. But if you want to pipe up and ask a question, please do. These are a way that we can see people's shops, but also a way that we can have conversations. So.
Nobody? Okay, let me think if I can ask a question.
I have something I want to know. Sometimes I like to give a minute if anybody has one. But I do want to know, I've always found it very interesting the way that you balance this digital and then this analog. Uh, why such a big spread, or like what takes you in both directions?
Adult ADHD or something. I've, everybody has a lot of interest, and I think the interests are all kind of tied together in that typography obviously has its history. It doesn't matter, any digital typography is going to go back to the sources and the technologies that were available to make physical type still really are relevant to digital type design. So, and I did relief printmaking and bookbinding before I really got into digital. So it just kind of came full circle for me. Jim might have a different insight.
Well, I started as a graphic designer, but always interested in type and type design. I started designing type, and then for me, it's just the more you research the type, the more you move backward in time, because you're looking at where it all came from, and when you get back there, you're starting to look at metal type and wood type and all that stuff, and then you want to print it. You want to see how it works, and yeah, so that's how I moved from digital back to some analog, and then yeah, it's just fun too because you're making physical things. I mean, you can make physical things with graphic design too, but you don't usually end up making it yourself. And with this, we have all of our presses here. We can make stuff ourselves. Like when we made the Bernice booklet, we made it ourselves. We printed the cover of it and here on our presses with a little help from boxcar plates. But in like in Rich's book too, obviously that's the ultimate playground is all of that was made with the original type, even though it's based on all the fonts that digital from wood type. Everything in that book is all the source type, so it's all the real wood type, and some of it's new wood type because it's still the legacy projects from Hamilton. So anyway.
No, that's great. I thank you. I like seeing both. I think you guys do an amazing balance of having both worlds come together. Ari wants to know, can you talk about the process of digitizing the Dingbats? They all seem to be an M square.
That's actually kind of a really fun thing to do because if you use the M square, you can make these borders that all kind of click together. And in hand setting or wood type borders, if you've used vintage borders or even metal borders that aren't so vintage, it's kind of hard to get a nice clean lockup. So that's one of the things I like with digital is you can do these really nice, I'm getting the sun in my eyes. There we go, that's better. Sorry. Okay. So what was the question again?
The process of digitizing the Dingbats.
Oh, the process. I mean, it's similar to the process of digitizing a font. Start with source artwork. Vector outlines are then kind of fine-tuned, and the dingbats in a way are a lot easier because you're kind of focusing on one dingbat or maybe a dingbat system that involves a corner and straight edge pieces, and then you can, once you design those two pieces, you can just kind of flip them, and then if you use the glyph palette in InDesign or Illustrator, you can just kind of pop them in where you need them, and so in some ways the digital stuff is great for mocking up if you're working with handset type, but they're really two different things that sort of resemble each other. That's working back and forth, obviously getting polymer plates, but when you're working with the actual physical type, it's kind of hard to really, it's just, I mean, in most of the designs I do for posters, there's not really any digital component to it. It's just, I think I know how things are going to layer and I throw them on the press and hopefully they work out. Did that answer the question?
Ari can speak up if he wants to know more. I
Well,
do.
I'm curious about the fact that all of them are M's and that you don't try to do any of the thinner pieces.
Well, I wouldn't say don't try. It's just occasionally the squares I just think are work well. You know, we'll if demand dictates. I think one of the things I was going to mention is you know the question, why are we doing digital and analog? And I think part of it is, quite frankly, you know, no kidding aside, it's all I don't know, is that, you know, we need to stay in business, so we sort of have to diversify to be able to.
I texted her and said that I'm going to try to finish here since we're hanging out.
Not me. But yeah, there's the analog and the digital are part of what's become if you need. Yeah, you know, we do both things because they both allow us, one allows us to do the
But that assumes no human response. No.
But yeah, there's no strict reason that we do only square dingbats. That just
At the University of Washington's Institute for
somebody wants to
and Evaluation.
encourage us to do others, we can do other things. Actually, we've talked more about doing more border systems, but again, there's lots of projects in process, and so we just have to decide which ones are going to be taken to completion and actually released in the digital world. Okay.
There was also a question from David Wolski about the aspirational wall of type. Is it mostly sorts or they're complete fonts?
They're broken fonts, so depending on what it is you need. It's the large type. We can only fit a couple letters on the press at once. I can show you the presses if people want to see our actual presses. Pretty happy with our acquisitions. Our main press, Jim's over there now, so I'll just sort of narrate, is a Vandercook Universal 1, which is all tricked out with adjustable bed, power carriage, paper tower. It also has an ink fountain, which I'm told is pretty scarce to have, and wash up. So that's sort of our workhorse. I love that press. It came to us last year. Yeah, shortly after we moved in. The other press we have is a Vandercook clone, I guess you'd call it. It's a Reprex, and it has a couple issues. We were hoping Paul Moxon was going to be here this month, but for some lame reason, he decided not to come here. And it has a problem with the trip print mechanism, and also the rollers all seem to have uniformly shrunk about 1/4 inch. So the rollers weren't even touching the main inking cylinder. So I just got the center roller back from a place we get rollers recovered, and based on Paul Moxon's suggestion for a specification. And so the other 2 rollers are going to be sent in, and hopefully at least they'll be inking properly, and then we'll sort out the trip print problem. Is anybody familiar with the Reprex? I think it's a Reprex number 2. They did a few things to avoid being on the wrong side of Vandercook's patents. The oscillating cylinder is not is the drive cylinder, and I don't know if you can turn that on, Jim. See how that works. And then the way the rubber rollers and the distribution rollers are all hung in there are pretty awkward. They're all hanging from this cantilever system. It's very weird. But yeah, the drive cylinder is the oscillating cylinder. Other than that, it's kind of does what a Vandercook does. Okay. And then we also have a Baltimore and platen press, which we've used for crash numbering, and a couple of small demo pieces. That's a sweet little press. I think by there, right next to there, we have our acrylic prototypes of our type gauge tool. Not that we're turning this into a sales opportunity, but if you don't have a P22 type gauge tool, you're just, you're missing out. This is the ultimate tool for sorting those miscellaneous pieces of type. Yeah, okay, enough of that sales pitch. It's on our website. It's a good, we're happy we've done it.
I have some volunteers that would love one of those. We might have to get a couple.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can say,
I
yeah.
don't know if Michaela's on the call, but I bet she would be a happy camper. Larry's here, but he's not often metal type sorting. So
Oh yeah, Jim mentioned our idea to do a wood type gauge, but it's probably not as necessary. But
it'll be much bigger and harder to ship.
it's kind of
a yardstick in his shop.
Hey,
Casey did want to know what form size is printed on that press. Casey, you can speak up if you want. Is it the platen, the tabletop, or which one were you asking about?
It was the Reprex.
Oh, the Reprex. It's kind of like an SP15. I think it's a little longer. So yeah, I think it's about 15 wide. And if Jim wants to, yeah, Jim's going to go measure it now. He'll let you know.
Yeah. So it probably prints a little smaller than the Uni one.
Yeah, definitely narrower than the Uni one, and it's oh, wait a minute, that's not a Uni one, that's a Uni 3.
Oh, you said the Universal 3?
Yeah, the Universal. I somehow got mixed up. The Universal 1 with the power carriage at Wells College was the first power carriage Vandercook that I used, and I just kind of fell in love with it, and so yeah, it's a Uni 3. I'm sorry.
With the Cower. Is it automatic?
Yes.
An adjustable bed?
Yep.
Well, you got all the bells and whistles, didn't you? That's great.
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
Awesome.
Rich,
yeah.
Rectangle Press has a Reprex.
Where are they?
New Hampshire.
Oh, okay. I'll maybe inquire. I think it's.
He's on Instagram.
Okay. Well, anyway, we made progress with it today by getting that new roller, so I feel like we're almost there. Yeah. So let's see. Anything else? Anybody want to see? Ask some questions. How much time do we have left?
You've still got 20 minutes. Everybody's so quiet. It's like I have to admit, I thought today was Thursday. Like I literally didn't know what day it was, so I know my brain's a little frozen.
Okay.
Amelia wants to know where you got some of your type besides the Pollock collection. You have a lot of type. You have a lot of type. I've been there, and it still surprised me how much you have.
Yeah, we did my. I guess. Okay, I've just said 8 sentence fragments in a row, and none of them made any sense. So let me start over. We acquired some type and equipment from my mentor, the person who first let me into his shop. He was a commercial typesetting house, and I guess here I'm gonna walk through here. A guy named Hal Leader, and his company in Buffalo was called Printing Prep, and so we did get this is Optima, Microgramma, yes, and some Aurora Bold. So we have several cases, and Hal's shop was this is tying together some other P22, and where everything I do kind of ends up tying together. This was Hal's mentor. His name was Emil Salin. He was from Sweden and came to America to join his brother at the Roycroft community in East Aurora. And he was one of the typesetters at the Roycroft, and he was hired away by Spencer Kellogg, who started the Aries Press. And the Aries Press was one of the owners of the William Morris Kelmscott Albion Press. And so years later, Hal Leader ended up working with Emil. And again, here, let's get a better shot of the picture of Emil. So you can see Emil working at this stone, and this is the same stone. It's the most expensive thing I've ever moved. It was free, but it was the most expensive thing move. So it's a great stone, but that belonged to Emil, or belonged to Hal. And so a lot of that equipment Most of Hale's shop went to the Roycroft shop in East Aurora, but a few of these things, like 4 cases of some of this mid-century modern type, and that, and what?
The bookshelves.
Oh yeah, the bookshelves as well,
And all of the phototype catalogs that are on the back side of the bookshelf,
including and this portrait of the founder of printing prep as Hale, Uriah Prep. I don't think there really was a Uriah Prep. Hale bought this at an auction. And then so we have another guy from a Buffalo rubber type foundry that Dan Mellis just sent me out of the blue. So these beards are, again, a very aspirational thing. I mean, you know, so this is Keeler. So it's almost my last name. It's Buffalo. It's some parallel dimension doppelganger. So I'm going to work on the beard again. What do you think, Amelia? Big beard? Oh, yeah, that's not, yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. Okay. So, yeah, so that's where some other type came from. We also, you know, odds and ends. It's my original print shop ended up being donated to the Western New York Book Arts Center, where that was a project that I felt very good about founding. And I thought, if I set this up, I'm not just lending it to them. So I donated my print shop and then moved on. And then when I was at Wells, I bought another Vandercook that was a 320G, G for gravity, and gravity did a number on that press, and fell off the back of a truck. And so it got fixed, but then I realized that wasn't the press for me, so I donated that to Wells and started over. Now I've got the Uni 3, not the Uni 1, the Uni 3, which is, I'm really happy with that press. So there you go.
I've printed on that 320. It had character.
Yeah, yeah. When Amos came to visit, he really liked working on it. He did a kind of an uncharacteristic. It was a book poster that was kind of fantastic, and he did the whole thing on this a single sheet that folded and folded, and he was, you know, again, some people like the press. I'm happy if I never see it again. We have baggage.
So a paper question. We'll switch from presses to paper. What paper is the Hamilton specimen pieces? What is that printed on?
That's printed on Utopia. Yes, thank you, Furco Goldinger, for the wonderful donation of this paper. And it's not really coated. It's sort of coated, which was really, so it's really great for detail, but it's not glossy, and it's just a really great sheet for this. Be happy when everybody can see it in person. So yeah, the end papers, again, those were just make-ready sheets that also ended up being cleanup sheets. And so again, I really think that's in it. We'll see what it's all done if they crack, but I don't think, I folded them and I think they're fine. What else?
Hey, I have a question about your cleanup sheets. Whenever I try to do the ink wipes, it just wraps around the drum.
That's where the Universal 1 and Universal 3 allow this to happen. You can't really do it with every Vandercook.
Okay, so I got a Uni 1, so that must be the problem.
Yes. Well, no, Uni 1, it should work. You also have to basically, I'm going to give away some secrets here. I know there's other people who use ink wipes, but you basically get a kind of a slurry with mineral spirits, and that evaporates. But you can't do it obviously with Crisco, because the oil will stay in the paper. But with mineral spirits, it just sort of evaporates. And I've also kind of, there is a chance if you feed it all the way through, it's going to get mangled. But it has,
yeah, I've had that happen too.
yeah, ink is pretty sticky. It's just going to grab the paper and just kind of make a real mess. I could do a workshop in how to clean up a press with, and then sell them. Yeah, there you go, Jim. That's a make-ready sheet of sort of a time capsule. I kind of like these sheets when, yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Other questions? Nobody? Okay. I'm just circling through who's here. Oh, hi, everybody. Wow, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, there's, I'm just about to add 2 more.
Right.
We're at 53 people.
Oh, hi, Manuel. How you doing? Yeah, so we've got Europeans here staying up late. Hi, Greg. Arnie. Okay, so I know I'm missing people. I'm just kind of glancing through. Amelia, you always have good questions.
Will you show some of your type?
Yeah. What do you want to see?
Well, we are particular to wood type, so whatever you want to show.
Okay. Here's a JG Cooley type, 18 point JG. I guess it's just a kind of a nice, really old sans serif with a lowercase. What's really fancy stuff we've got?
Fancy.
It's not wood type, but it's kind of interesting. It's a 37 line, and you can see it's heavy. It's a copper plated brush script.
Wow.
And this came from the Pollock collection. There's an almost equal amount that I ended up buying for the Western New York Book Arts Center. So there's another stash of this in Buffalo. So between this and that, I think you could do some really cool. So it's on an italic body. It's a fairly thick copper laminate. And just kind of a nice brushy script thing. It's really heavy. Here's a drawer of just cents, because this company their main business was advertisement, in-store advertisement for variety stores. So Woolworths, Grants, Neisner's was a chain that they did a lot of work for. And so there's all kinds of posters for Easter specials, Father's Day sales, and things like that. I don't know what Jim finding some other type. Here's some nice large punctuation. So I can only imagine that the fonts that went with this, they have been sold as decorative art and cut up for sculpture decades ago. But these are sort of the remnants. The nice big Cooper Black is nice. I'll show you the. Again, they're not really complete fonts. This one I really. This isn't the Cooper Black. The Cooper Black's right next to it. So this is a sans serif. There's a couple different widths, but you notice they have this this terminal. It's kind of a brush stroke terminal. It's a sans serif. Obviously, this is never used. A lot of this font was never used. So here's a wider version. It's side grain, fairly light. It's not super dense, whereas this stuff is much heavier, still side grain, because it's kind of big. So that's a pretty big. Jason's looking at this. I want that W. Yeah, I know you do. You're not getting it. So here, just a nice little hyphen. So I think there's 2 different sizes. This G has a good history to it. So the antique dealer who had this, I pulled this out years and years ago. I took Amos to this guy, and Amos, wanted everything. And this guy was a tough cookie to deal with. And so I pulled out this G, and he's like, "Oh, well, he'd do this for anything you bring to him." He's like, "Oh, that's very special. That I have to charge more for that." So I forget how much he told me he wanted $50 or something, and I didn't want to pay $50 for it. So every time I went there, this was sitting on his shelf from that day, years and years later, when I went to box the stuff up when I bought his whole collection. He still had this sitting on the shelf. He was taunting me with it. So now I finally got this, and I didn't pay $50 for it. Technically, I paid a lot more. So what else do we have? Again, they're sort of grouped by sizes. We get to the point where some of these are hand carved completely, replacement letters, and a lot of them are pantograph carved. We don't have a whole lot of multicolor blocks, because again, they're the interesting ones I think were sold. But this you can see red, yellow, blue for this Toyland train full of creepy toys for like a Christmas toy display. And then we also have a key block, so there's a black block for that as well. And again, some of these would be great to print, but I'm kind of actually really interested in, got a little stash over here. Where are they? Oh, these, they're sort of silhouettes of like people, like different parts of people. Here, this one's a little more, it's just an outline of a young lady with the buttons in the same color as the outline. And then there's a few like this. Again, it's just a tint block with a human figure. And so these I really like, and haven't found their companion blocks for multicolor. And this one, Amelia and I collaborated on a print. This called Something Big, which is on our site. Might be able to pull one out. But again, it's just, you can imagine, I don't know, there's like people crawling on top of these large shapes. And really love these blocks. Yeah, if you like wood type, you come visit here once it's allowable again.
So Rich, has everything from your garage in Aurora made it over there now?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not everything. I'm renting out the house in Aurora.
Okay.
The garage is locked, in case anybody's wondering. So yeah, I've actually have blocks that will not ever fit on any of these presses. If anybody knows a museum who might want a donation, I'd be happy to donate to a museum. But yeah, a lot of the oversized blocks are still in storage. Go over here and see some of the slight. I might cut off again. I'll try not to get cut off, but these were just moved pretty recently.
Well, we might have lost you, Rich. James, can you let him know we've lost him?
Luckily, they have 3 other cameras.
I know. I've never had to be so busy on this end.
We got a crew here. We got a professional. These are really wonderful too. They're actually, this one says kraut. And guess so there's all these different food products. So that's our kraut. What else do we have? Oh, this is one of my favorites, Mexicorn. Love when you can make these compound words.
We have grocery blocks, but I don't think we have Mexicorn.
If you're cleaning up with Crisco, you can put this next to that. Actually, you kind of get the idea. It's products you would find in a Dills, but this definitely of its era, of 1940s, 50s. I see more than one walnuts. Walnuts must have been popular. Something called Treat. I don't know. Anybody know what Treat? I don't know what Treat is. Anyway, all kinds of stuff. Is this getting boring? Am I just kind of yammering?
No, you're great, Richard. We have met our hour. It was show and tell. I like the show and tell, and I also like that people could pick between you and James's iPhone.
Yeah.
It's like double treats with 2 E's.
Oh wait, here, no, I got something fun. Something else to get you. Here. This is I wish they had full sets here, but we can do certain words, let some nice outline Gothics. Those are kind of fun. Yeah. Anyway, yes, you were saying, Stephanie.
Oh, well, now we know that treat looks like it was like Spam. It was a canned meat product.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Not really excellent, no. So we both can stick around, I think, just a little bit if there are other questions.
That's fine by me. I am here. I've got some Chinese food. Ooh, Casey's got a question.
So the larger blocks that you have in your garages, are they type or illustration blocks?
Both. I mean, someone might say the word sale, or because the previous owner was not only an antique dealer but a craftsperson, he would might like a word. So you might have just SA of some really decorative type forms. And there's some of the script, the mid-century script lettering is really fantastic. So the most of the individual letters are here. The other odds and ends, again, there's a giant block for, we put some in our front window because this was a bank and people could look in to see what the latest certificate of deposit. So here, this is a really good example of one of those blocks. So it's, let's see, it's about 5 feet, I suppose.
Oh, wow.
And it has an elephant. And it says big value, but it has these really kind of wild floriated letters, very 1960s. And then other, like this one here, see kind of a grumpy kid with a schoolhouse. They had all these back to school special things. And this one, which I think said toys, but it cut out, the Y is kind of cut in half. So a lot of these are fragments. I mean, there's thousands of pieces here, and in some cases trying to find, like there's a lady, this would have been the skin tone, whatever skin tone was printed, but there's no hair, there's no, I haven't found any blocks with the other parts to them. And there was actually multiples of these. So this company would actually do 4 up of posters this large. I have some archival material of the company, but since I can only do so much freelance academic work to dig in, I'd love to dig more history. Valerie, are you raising your hand?
Yes, I have a question for you.
Yes.
How much, I don't know if you said this before, but how many square feet do you have, and what percentage of it is already full?
Oh, I think we have 2,000 square feet. The vault isn't really counted. We thought the vault might be used for storage, but it makes a really great gallery. There's obviously no Wi-Fi signal can penetrate the vault. And the 2 front offices we originally didn't take because we didn't think we'd need them. But it is Rochester, New York, so the rent was pretty reasonable. And so for now, I think we could condense if we needed to, and we could probably fit more things in here if we were a little more careful. But yeah, as far as the print shop, I'd say, half the space is dedicated to the letterpress printing equipment, and then the library and design. It's a nice space. And again, anybody's welcome to visit when visiting is a thing we can all do again.
Okay, I'm speaking up now. Here is my little beaver.
Wait a minute.
Helping Rich move all that tape. I helped pack. And every time I would go to that place, I wanted to buy the little beaver.
Beaver.
I was going to go bring the twin of that.
Beaver archery set. Only in the 50s could you name something that. You couldn't do it today, right?
I don't know. Bye. What's the next font going to be called? There you go. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. We're very happy to show you the space and some of our projects that of course you're going to want to get in on. So sign up to our mailing list. You get a free font if you're not already on our mailing list. You sign up and you get a font.